Me on a ride with my eyes open wide.
This is a video I didn't think I was going to get to create, because when I started telling people I wanted to create a real world version of a mini-map from Need for Speed Underground 2 on an ESP32, everybody told me, it's not possible, you can't do it, the hardware isn't capable. Well, checkmate, atheists, because not only did I figure out how to do it, it's awesome. So let me take you back on a journey over the last almost month of my life, figuring out how to make this thing work in an ecosystem that is not powerful enough to support it. And then I'll also show you what you need to do if you want to do it yourself using maps in your local area in the style of whatever video game you prefer. Let's get into it. Now, video game mini-maps are obviously nothing new. They've been used in games for decades, and whether it's the Need for Speed series or Forza or GTA or even something like Red Dead Redemption, they all have their own individual styles and were just used to either allow you to keep a side eye on what was going on in the road ahead, or to alert you to interesting waypoints or events as you travel around the map. So that's what I'm trying to create here, a really simplified version of a local area map that has some interesting waypoints marked on it as I'm driving around. And it so happens, as anyone who has followed this channel for a while knows, that I'm in the process of creating a whole digital dashboard based off the aesthetic of Need for Speed Underground 2. So it makes sense that for this task, I actually use the mini-map that is also styled off that same game. In order to make my chance of success as high as possible in creating this, I'm going to use the flagship of the ESP32 chipsets, the P4. And this one is a 3.4-inch 800 by 800 pixel screen with the P4 made by Waveshare. If we can't do it on this, it's not doable on the ESP32, frankly. So actually putting maps onto an embedded device like this, how do we do it? Because right now, I don't know. I've been doing some research though, and a couple of things I have found out is that you're going to have to create a physical map of the entire area that you want to cover. Like for me, it's going to be the majority of the UK. And then that map is broken down into a load of tiled images which act as a grid reference. And there are predefined formulas that people have used for years that convert a latitude and longitude to a grid referenced tile. So my first job is to find a website or an application or something where I can generate a map of the area I want, style it accordingly, and then add various waypoint markers onto it. So I want things like airports and petrol stations. I've got an app in mind I think might work, but I'm going to have to go and find all the data sets to populate it, and then figure out how to style it all, and then figure out how to turn it into a load of tiles. That's going to be the day. Let's get on there. I think this is pretty good. I was, in fact, able to use QGIS. Well, it's a geospatial analysis and mapping tool, so perfect for looking at maps, in order to generate what I wanted. The actual information about the roads and the buildings and the woodlands and the waterways and all that stuff, I was able to get from Ordnance Survey. They're a company in the UK here that deal with maps, and they provide that information as some downloads that you can go and grab. So that was nice and easy. The railway stations came as part of that data set as well, so that was easy. And then some of the data points that I wanted, so airports, seaports, car parks and service stations, were all available from the UK Department of Transportation. They have them available to download, so that was easy. The only one that was a bit of a problem was petrol stations. For some reason, there's nowhere where you can just go and download that as a single layer, a single data source, except for one place, which is here, geolocate. UK petrol stations locations, €400. No, thank you, geolocate. So what I did instead was download the OpenStreetMaps dataset for the UK, which contains everything. It's about a 2 gig file, but unfortunately you can't just drop that into QGIS and click show me petrol stations. So what I found out was that every single petrol station is tagged in that dataset with amenity equals fuel. Sometimes it'll be a node that says here's a petrol station. Sometimes it'll be a perimeter, a polygon of the outside edges. Either way, they're both tagged amenity as fuel to say this is a place that is a petrol station, basically. So I wrote a quick Python script, which looks through the entire data set, looking for amenity equals fuel as a node or a polygon. If it's a node, it converts it into a latitude longitude. If it's a polygon, it finds the center of the polygon and converts that into a latitude longitude, and then just creates me a huge list of all of the petrol stations as latitudes and longitudes. Also, if you're doing something like this and you want any data from the OpenStreetMaps dataset, you can use this Python script and just change what tags you're searching for, and it'll find it in your dataset and then make it its own layer. If you want this script, it's all available in a repo. Now we need to convert this into tiles. I found a plugin for QGIS which is called Quick Map Services, and this just adds some features into QGIS, and we can go into raster tools, generate XYZ tiles into a directory, and it will use whatever's on the screen and generate that area as a bunch of tiles. So as I set this up ready to go, quick game, how many tiles is it going to take to tile all of the UK? What do you think? How many tiles is this going to require? Take a little guess whilst I set this up and put your guess in the comments. Let's see who gets the closest. You ready? Have you locked your guess in? 3, 2, 158,670 tiles. I'll admit that's nowhere near as many as I thought it would be. I was up in the millions for that. Okay. So now we wait. It's now been running for about 5 hours and it's done 15%, which means 35 hours. Oh no. %85. There's still a while to go. Fortunately, I've got some other stuff that I need to do in the car that I can tick off today whilst this finishes up, including installing the new dash cam from the sponsor of this video, VOFO. This new A329S not only has 4K out of the front, but also has a rear and an internal camera, so every single part of my car is monitored when I'm in it or when it's parked up out on the drive. The cameras all use Starvis 2 sensors, so they take really high quality HDR footage, whether it's day or night. And the internal camera, which I think is really cool, switches from a daytime mode to an infrared night mode. So, if anything problematic goes on inside your car, it's captured. Obviously, it's got an app for setting it all up, but it's also got voice activation, a variety of smart detection modes, an included CPL filter for reducing reflections on the windscreen, which I've never seen before in a dashcam, and this cool little button that you can just press and it'll automatically save the last couple of minutes of footage. It's just a really simple and sensible addition to a dashcam. If you have been looking at adding a dashcam to your car or just upgrading the current one you're in, the Viofo A329S is a really solid option. It's a great camera, really feature rich, and it's good to know that no matter if I'm out driving or if the car is parked up on my drive, I'm protected from other people, because we all know other people are the problem. Viofo are currently running their Christmas sale. So if you follow the link in the description, you can get yourself a good chunk of change off one of these dash cams. Treat yourself as we finish this year, or treat somebody you love that you want to keep protected from baddies. I'm going to get mine installed while this finishes, and I've got a feeling I'm going to be finished way before this is. Well, it's done, and I did get the camera installed faster than this took to complete, but I've now got this maps folder. And within here, level 16, which is my zoom level, I've got a ton of folders. So these are the X-axis, and within each one of these is the Y-axis. And we'll see these little cool-looking tiles. But these are all PNGs, and in order to use them on my ESP32, I need them as bin files. And I found a bit of Python script which will just run through all of these files and convert them into bin images. But I was promised 158,000 images, and there aren't 158,000 images. Just letting this count. There are actually 2,533,800. So if your guess was around 2.5 million, you're actually a lot closer. Don't know why it only told me 158,000, but yeah, there's a lot. When we look through all of these folders, because it's generated this area, and the way it starts off the side of the map, is a lot of these are just blank. They're either in the middle of nowhere or they're blue. They're just out at sea, and I don't tend to drive out at sea very often. So everything that's either plain blank or plain blue, we can just skip actually creating that image tile. And because they're all exactly the same, every single blue one is 880 bytes. Every single plain black background one is 876 bytes. So if I update the script that I have that converts all these image tiles in the same format and folder structure into bin files, but to ignore every image that's less than 881 bytes, it should massively reduce the amount of images that it produced. And if I can keep it under 250 gig, that'd be really good. So I'm going to get that running, and again, I expect it's going to be another waiting game. 18 hours. Took another 18 hours to convert all my images to the bin files, which you think would be, okay, fine, end of the pain. But then it took another 22 hours to transfer them onto an SD card. 236 gig of images. Every step of this has just taken painfully long, but the images are now on an SD card, on the device. It means I can start doing the really interesting bit, actually making a working, I guess, satnav, but a mini-map. And whilst taking a look at the way maps work on, existing satnavs and stuff, I actually came across this project by that project who has created a way of putting maps on one of these devices. And using their code, I've been able to run a test on here with my tiles to see that the images actually work, and they do, and it looks fantastic. But unfortunately, the code that that project has created doesn't really work for my use case. It's not really optimized for a moving target. I've got a very broad plan of the steps I intend to take as I try and do this, but I mean, there's a reason no one's done it before. It's going to be tricky. Fingers crossed it's not too painful. Wish me luck, folks. Oh no. Oh. I know that that little montage that we've just seen probably makes it seem like this all happened over a couple of days, but it's actually been just over 2 weeks. As expected, there have been tons of tiny little issues and micro optimizations that I've had to do in order to make this even passably working. Like, you can't just load in all the images of all the tiles as you move around. Each tile takes about 0.1 seconds to load in from the SD card. So you have to really minimize the amount of new tiles that you're loading at any one point in time. So we have to calculate which direction we're going. So if we're going north, you only need to load tiles that are coming in from the top. The sides ones and the bottom ones don't need to change. You can just switch pointers and buffers around in order to move those around. It's been a lot of work, but I have an example running that looks just like the game, with the car facing upward all the time, so the map can move around based on your direction of travel. The thing is, because we are rotating large images, it is tanking their performance a little bit. And you can see when we look at it close up, it's a little bit juddery as we step between the various places. And that's because we're taking this large grid of tiles and we're trying to rotate it. It doesn't like it. So I'm going to make a small change, which is going to make a huge difference. So instead of rotating the entire map, I'm just going to keep the map north pointer facing north, and then instead I'll rotate the car. So the car icon will actually show the direction in which you're traveling, and the grid tiles of maps will always just be north facing. It means it's not 100% a representation of how it works in the Need for Speed Underground game, but it does mean we get a major performance uptick, and then the animation of moving this thing around is much, much smoother. I think it's a good middle ground to have the best of both. I do need to add like a loading screen whilst it's finding your initial GPS location and a couple of other little bits, but they're pretty negligible at this point. The only really big thing that I've got left to do is to get real GPS coordinates and pump them into this rather than just using fake data like I'm using now to, see what it looks like as it moves around the map. And then if that works, we are basically finished. So let's build a little GPS sender and then go test it in a car on the move and see what it actually looks like. I'm pretty excited, I'll be honest. So I'm sat in a car park, which is pretty standard for a 350Z owner. And now it's time to boot this thing up for the very first time. And let's see if it tells us that we're in a car park. Oh my God, yeah, I am actually sat in a car park. That's awesome. So my plan is to drive along this road over the roundabout and down that main road. Let's see how well it tracks us. Oh my God, this is so good. Look at it go. Okay, approaching the roundabout. Bird's eye view. Over the roundabout. Oh my God. I can't get over how good this is. And it's really smooth. It's moving beautifully. This is fantastic. Let's see how it handles this sharp corner at the end. I'm going to go here and then turn a hard left. Oh my God. Absolutely no problem. Oh man. I can't believe this works so well. What I really want to do though is see one of the placement markers. There's some petrol stations nearby, so let's just go find one. So there should be one coming up at the bottom of this little bit of hill here as we go down the hill. Come on, where are you? There it is. Yeah, my first petrol station. Other than that one time someone sold me an Impreza that I had absolutely no petrol in it, I don't think I've ever been so happy to see a petrol station in my entire life. This all works amazingly. I'm so happy right now. So there we have it, a cool looking, smooth running, impossible to build video game style minimap running on an ESP32. As far as I'm aware, it's the first time that anyone's actually created a satnav type thing on a microcontroller like this, as well as being the first time anyone's made a real life video game minimap at all, which is crazy to me. If that is the case, then you're welcome, world. Tick, tick, 2 brand new things that exist. I'm sure some of you are going to want to try this for yourself. And if you do, all the code that I've created for the various steps is available in the repo. It's all completely free. Do whatever the hell you want with it. Just don't sell it. It's my only rule. Over the next month or so, I've got to now take this gauge and all of the other Need for Speed inspired digital dashboard that I've created and actually install it in my 350Z, like properly install it so it looks really OEM. I've got lots to 3D print and CNC and model and manufacture circuit boards. There's a lot of cool stuff. And so if you do want to see the next step that is going to be coming over the next month or so, make sure you hit subscribe because those videos are coming and they are going to be really seriously cool. One final thing, massive thank you to Viofo for hitting me up and let me try your new dash cam. It is really wicked. To Swamp Sesh for creating me that Need for Speed 2 inspired jam that we had at the intro of this video. You can get that from his SoundCloud link below. To my neighbour Sam for following me around with a drone for the afternoon. That was sick. And to all the channel members and Patreon subscribers that support this channel and help me be able to do this every month. Really means a lot to me and I couldn't do it without you. Oh, and I guess to all of you for sitting and watching this for 30 minutes when there's so much other stuff you could have watched. That's pretty cool, I guess, as well. Thanks. Anyway, I've got an unbelievably large amount of stuff to get on with as we run up towards the end of the year. So I'm going to have this cup of coffee and then get on with it. Hope that something really good happens to you today, and I'll see you in the next video. Take it easy, peeps. Bye-bye.